For 11 years, Gloria Carter lit the candle every morning at 5:15. This morning, she didn't. Match strikes silence, and upstairs, her son was hiding something that could destroy this family. Friday morning, 5:15. The candle jar is on the counter where it has always been. The match is on the counter beside it where it has always been. Gloria Carter is standing at the counter in the dark, and she has the match in her hand, and she is not moving. She looks at the kitchen the way you look at a room after something happened in it. The two chairs at the table still slightly pulled out from where she and Tyler sat last night. The accordion file Rosie brought, sitting on the counter to the right of the stove, rubber band still in place. Near the new Caldwell envelope, 60 days now instead of 90, folded beside it. The reclassification form, unsigned, still sitting next to James's coffee cup from yesterday that nobody washed yet. She strikes the match. She holds it. She looks at the flame between her fingers for 3 full seconds, and then she blows it out. She sets the match down on the counter. She goes to the stove. She starts the coffee. The candle jar sits on the counter, unlit. For the first time in 11 years, Gloria Carter started her morning without lighting the candle. She has not decided yet what today is going to require of her. She needs to know that before she lights anything. Tyler comes downstairs at 6:03. His plate is already at his place. Eggs, toast, orange juice. Gloria made it before he came down, which means she knew approximately when he would come down, which means she has been listening for his footsteps since before 5:15. He sits. He looks at the plate. He looks at his mother's back at the stove. He picks up the fork. He looks like a person who slept for the first time in several nights. He also looks like a person who understands that the bill for that sleep has not arrived yet. Gloria does not ask him how he is feeling. She does not ask him what he is thinking. She sets a cup of coffee beside his orange juice, and she goes back to the counter, and she keeps her back to the table. Tyler eats. The kitchen is quiet around them in the way it is quiet after a storm has passed through a room, and the furniture is all still there, but something has changed about the air. What Tyler told his mother last night, sitting across from her at this table, while the candle burned and Marcus's footsteps faded up the stairs. It was not the worst thing a 19-year-old has ever told his mother at a kitchen table in this city, but it was real, and it was his. And saying it out loud after carrying it alone for 6 months did something to the pressure in his chest that he does not have a word for yet. He had been running numbers for Deshaun Reeves. Not drugs, not anything that left a mark on anyone's body. Financial transactions, money moving through accounts that looked clean. That looked like consulting payments and vendor invoices. Accounts designed to look like nothing worth looking at. Tyler's mind for numbers. The thing Deshaun had been watching and cultivating for 6 patient months. The thing he had seen in the way Tyler moved through figures and patterns and sequences that other 19-year-olds on Drexel Avenue could not track. Tyler had used that mind twice for Deshaun. He had been about to use it a 3rd time when his family's crisis pulled him back to himself. The one word he sent to Sean 4 nights ago from the front porch was, "Done." Deshaun had not responded, not in 4 days. Tyler had been telling himself that the silence meant acceptance. Sitting at this table this morning with the eggs getting cold, he knows that is not what the silence means. Gloria has not told James. She's going to tell James. She needed one night to decide how. She turns from the counter and looks at her son across the table, and she says 4 words. Gloria said, "Not yet. Eat first." Tyler eats. Gloria watches the door. Nia comes into the kitchen at 6:25 in her pajamas, with the rabbit tucked under one arm, already fully awake the way 4-year-olds arrive at consciousness. No gradations, no transition, just suddenly present and operational. She climbs into her chair. She reaches for the cereal box. She looks at Tyler. She looks at her grandmother's back. She looks at the counter where the candle jar sits cold and dark. Nia noticed 3 things before she even poured her cereal. 1. Uncle Tyler's eyes were the colour eyes got after a person had been crying, except he probably wouldn't say that if she asked, so she did not ask. 2. Grandma had not lit the candle, which had never happened before in Nia's entire life that she could remember, which was almost all of it. 3. The kitchen felt like the way a room felt after a very important conversation had already ended, and everybody was still sitting inside the leftover shape of it. She poured her cereal. She put all 3 things on her list. She decided the day was going to be important and ate her breakfast accordingly. James comes to the table at 6:40. He sits. Gloria sets his plate. He looks at Tyler. Tyler looks at his eggs. James drinks his coffee. He eats. The kitchen does what it does. Moves, breathes, or holds them. Destiny comes through at 6:55. 20 minutes between the diner and the call centre, work uniform already on, Nia's lunch on the counter, the $40 from Gloria's hand to Destiny's without a word, because there are no words needed for that particular transaction anymore. She kisses her mother. She kisses Nia. She is gone. The door closes. Nia watches the door for a moment and then goes back to her cereal. James finishes his breakfast. He does not reach for his coat yet. He looks at his younger son. James said, "Tyler." Tyler looks up. James said, "Your mother tells me you have something to say to me." Gloria takes Nia by the hand. She walks her to the back bedroom. She closes the door quietly. She does not listen from the hallway. She has heard it once already. She gives her son and her husband the kitchen, and she goes to the window, and she looks at Drexel Avenue, and she waits. Tyler tells James everything. James listens all the way through without speaking. He eats 2 bites of his eggs while Tyler talks. He sets the fork down when Tyler gets to the part about the transactions. He does not pick it up again. He looks at the table while his son's voice fills the kitchen with 6 months of something that needed a room to finally land in. When Tyler finishes, the kitchen is still. James looks at the tablecloth, the one Gloria bought at the church sale in 2014 that she keeps meaning to replace and never does. He looks at it the way a man looks at something familiar, when he needs something familiar to look at. He says, James said, "How much did he pay you?" Tyler tells him. James nods once, the nod of a man doing arithmetic he did not want to do. James said, "You still have it?" Tyler said, "Yes, sir." James said, "Don't touch it." He picks up his fork. He eats 3 more bites. He sets the fork down. He looks at his son. Not through Tyler, not past him, but at him. The particular way James Carter looks at things when he's measuring their full weight. James said, "This man Deshawn, he knows where we live." Not a question. Tyler said, "Yes, sir." James nods. He pushes back from the table. He stands. He puts one hand on Tyler's shoulder. One hand, one squeeze, 4 seconds. Nothing said. He picks up his coat. He picks up his lunch. he goes to work. Tyler sits alone at the kitchen table for a long time after the front door closes. He puts his head down on his folded arms. He does not make a sound. Outside the window, Drexel Avenue keeps going the way it always keeps going. A dog, a passing car, someone's trash can rolled into the street by a November wind that does not know or care what just happened in this kitchen. The candle on the counter is still dark. Tyler breathes. He lifts his head. He looks at the unlit jar for a long moment. Then he gets up and washes his father's plate. On Superior Avenue, Marcus arrives at Diane Foster's office at 8:02. The lights are on. The door is unlocked. He comes in carrying both folders, his own and Rosie's accordion file with the sealed 1989 envelope still inside it, rubber band still in place. Diane is at her desk. She has 2 documents in front of her that were not there yesterday. She does not say good morning. She says sit down. She tells him about the first call. The woman she called is named Patricia Okafor. She's worked the clerk's office at the Federal Bankruptcy Court for the Northern District of Ohio for 21 years. Diane has known her for 9. Patricia pulled the full case file for Sunrise Development Group, Chapter 7, filed September 1991. She looked at every asset transfer record in the file. She looked at the trustee's final report. She looked at the docket from gavel to close. There is no trustee approval for the Carter Building's transfer. Not misfiled, not delayed, not sealed under a separate motion. Not there. A Marcus said, "What does Patricia think that means?" Diane said, "She's a court clerk. She told me what the record shows. She does not speculate about what it means, and I did not ask her to. What it means is our job." Marcus said, "And the second call?" Diane laces her fingers together on the desk. She says, Diane said, "His name is Walter Briggs. He is 61 years old. He practiced complex property title litigation in Ohio for 22 years at a firm you have never heard of because they never advertised. He is semi-retired now. He does not take cases. He takes families." Those are his words, not mine. "He agreed to read your file," Marcus said. "When?" Diane said, "He already did. I sent it last night. He called me at 7 this morning." The office is quiet. Marcus looks at Diane. Diane looks back at him. Marcus said, "What did he say?" Diane said, "He said he wants to meet the family. He said to bring whoever built the file. He said, and I am quoting him exactly, that in 40 years of title work he has seen sloppy and he has seen criminal, and this does not look like sloppy." Marcus sets both hands flat on the desk. He says, Marcus said, "When can he meet us?" Diane said, "Saturday. He will come to the house if the family agrees. He does not like officers for first conversations. He says officers make people feel like they are already losing." Marcus picks up the accordion file. He sets the sealed 1989 envelope on the desk between them. Diane looks at it. Marcus said, "This needs to be opened with a witness, and I did not want to touch it before you saw it." Diane picks it up. She holds it carefully, the way you hold something old that has been waiting longer than it should have. She reads the return address. She sets it back down. Diane said, "Saturday. Bring this. Bring everything." On East 9th Street, in an office that does not appear on the building directory, a man named Conrad Likes is sitting across from a city building inspector named Ray Soto in a coffee shop 2 blocks from the Carter House on Drexel Avenue. Conrad is 53. He has a clean car and patient eyes, and the particular stillness of a man who has never once needed to raise his voice to get what he came for. He slides a single sheet of paper across the table. Ray Soto looks at the address on the paper. He looks at Conrad, and he looks at the address again. Conrad said, "I'm not asking you to make it anything up. I'm asking you to look carefully. Old buildings have old problems. All I need is something real." Ray Soto folds the paper. He puts it in his jacket pocket. He picks up his coffee. He does not say yes. He does not say no. He drinks. Conrad nods once. He leaves 2 20s on the table for a $6 coffee. He puts on his coat and walks out into the November morning, and he does not look back. James comes home at 6:47. He does not change out of his work clothes. He sits at the table. Gloria sets his plate. Marcus is already there with both folders. Tyler is there. Nia is at the end of the table with the rabbit in the adjacent chair, which means Destiny has not made it home between shifts yet. The family reorganizes itself around James the way it always does when he sits down. The small adjustments, the things passed before he asks, the half step of quiet that settles over a room when this particular man takes his seat. Marcus tells him about Diane, about Patricia's confirmation from the federal court, about the absence in the record that is not a clerical error, about Walter Briggs reading the file before 7 in the morning and asking to meet the family, about Saturday, about Briggs's words. Not sloppy, the other thing. James listens with his fork in his hand and not eating. When Marcus finishes, James sets the fork down. He picks up his water glass. He holds it without drinking. The table waits in the particular way this family waits. Fully, without fidgeting, without filling the silence. He says, James said, "This Briggs, he does this kind of work." Marcus said, "He did it for 22 years. Diane says he beat a Caldwell title argument once. 2009. The case was settled and the record was sealed." James puts the water glass down. He picks up his fork. He eats. Gloria said, "What does meeting us mean for him? What does he need?" Marcus said, "Diane says he needs to understand who we are before he decides whether he's in. He doesn't take cases. He takes families. He wants to see us at the table." Gloria looks at the table. The table that has been in this kitchen for 31 years. She puts both hands flat on it. Gloria said, "Tell Diane yes. Saturday." James looks at his wife. The particular look. Two people who have been making decisions together at this table for 33 years and have long since stopped needing to say the decision out loud before they have already made it. He looks at her. She looks back. He nods once. Marcus writes something on the legal pad. Tyler, who has been sitting with his hands in his lap since James came home, who has not looked up from the table since Marcus started talking. Tyler raises his eyes. He looks at his brother. He says, Tyler said, "What can I do?" The table is quiet in a different way than it was quiet a moment ago. Not the quiet of waiting for something, the quiet of something turning. Marcus looks at his younger brother, and he looks at him the way he looked at the Midwest Heritage Properties cover letter in Rosie's accordion file. Reading, measuring, not dismissing. He says, Marcus said, "You let me tell you what I need. You do exactly that, and nothing else. Nothing on your own." Tyler said, "Yes, sir." James looks at Tyler, the same full weight look from this morning at the breakfast table. Then he picks up his fork and eats, and the table breathes again. and the candle, still unlit since morning, sits on the counter in the particular quiet of a thing that is waiting. If you need to know whether this family finds the door out of this, subscribe to Life in America, a new episode every single day. They are not done yet. The back door opens without a knock. Your Rosie Washington comes in with the last jar of Ruth Ann's pickled green beans from this summer. Found them on the bottom shelf behind the soup cans, he says. And Ruth Ann always said if the last jar of the season had gotten behind the soup cans, you had waited too long. He sets it on the counter, and he sits down, and he reads the room the way he always reads it. His eyes go to the candle. He does not say anything about the candle. He picks up a green bean from the jar he just opened, and he holds it between his fingers the way he holds things when he is thinking. Marcus tells him about Walter Briggs, about Saturday, about Patricia's confirmation, about Conrad Likes sitting 2 blocks away in a coffee shop this morning with a city building inspector. Though Marcus does not yet know about Conrad Likes, or the coffee shop, or Ray Soto's jacket pocket. What Marcus knows is what Diane told him, and what Diane told him is enough for tonight. Rosie listens to all of it. He nods at the Walter Briggs part. Rosie said, Ruth Ann used to say that when the other side starts moving faster, it means they got scared. You don't accelerate a timeline when you're confident. You accelerate it when you're trying to outrun something. James almost smiles. The same territory as before. The land just before a smile. The place James Carter lives that most people would not recognize as warmth, but that everyone at this table has learned to read. Rosie looks at the reclassification form still sitting next to James's cup. Rosie said, You signed that yet? James said, No. Rosie said, How long do you have? James said, 1 more day. Rosie sets the green bean down. He looks at Marcus. Rosie said, I'm not a lawyer. I'm just a man who has watched people sign things in this city for 60 years. But I will tell you what I know. You sign a new agreement in the middle of a fight about the old one, and you have just told everybody watching that you accepted the new terms. Whatever arguments you had before about what the original arrangement was, you muddied it. Marcus said, Diane said the same thing today. If Dad signs before Briggs has a chance to see the full picture, it creates an argument that the family accepted the reclassification as part of the building relationship. It complicates the timeline. James has the form in his hand now. He looks at it. James said, If I don't sign it by Monday, the job goes to posting. Marcus said, I know. 1 conversation with Briggs first. If he says sign it, you sign it Monday. If he says don't, we figure out the job separate from the building. 1 conversation. The weight of it sits on the table between them. 30 years at that machine. The health insurance. The blood pressure medication that James has not told his children about. All of it on one side of the scale. Walter Briggs and a sealed 1989 envelope on the other. James folds the form. He puts it in his shirt pocket. He says, James said, 1 conversation. Marcus nods. Rosie reaches into his coat. He takes out a business card, old, and the edges soft from years in a wallet. He sets it on the table in front of James. Rosie said, That is a man named Gerald Webb. He ran HR at the Corrigan plant on East 71st before it closed in 87. He watched what happened to the workers there when the plant started managing them out before the announcement. He knows what it looks like when a company starts using paperwork to move people. He's retired now. talk to you. James picks up the card. He reads it. He puts it in his shirt pocket next to the reclassification form. 2 things in James Carter's shirt pocket on a Friday night. The form he has not signed, and the name of a man who might help him understand what the form is really for. Gloria stands up from the table. She crosses to the counter. She picks up the match. The table watches without watching. The particular peripheral attention of people who have noticed something and are giving it the space to happen without making it a moment. Gloria strikes the match. She holds the flame to the wick. The candle catches on the first try the way it always catches, small and steady, and exactly where it has always been. She stands there for a moment, with the match still burning between her fingers, watching the flame in the jar. Then she blows the match out. She turns back to the table. Something has settled in her face that was not settled this morning. She sits back down. Late night. Rosie has gone home. James is in the bedroom, coat off, light off. The deliberate rest of a man who has learned to put the day down and trust that it will still be there in the morning. Marcus is upstairs with both folders and the legal pad. Nia is asleep, the rabbit beside her. Destiny came through at 10:20, kissed her mother, checked on Nia, was gone again by 10:29. Gloria watched the door close behind her the way she always watches that door. Tyler is on the front porch. He is sitting in the dark in the chair he has sat in since he was old enough to sit there. His phone is face down on his knee. The cold is serious tonight. He can see his breath. He does not go inside. He is watching Drexel Avenue the way you watch a street when you are waiting for it to show you something, and you are not sure you want to see it. His phone lights up at 11:17. Not a message. A call. Deshawn's name on the screen. The first contact in 4 days. Tyler looks at the name. He looks at the street. The phone rings 4 times. 5, 6. Tyler's thumb does not move toward the screen. 7, 8. The screen goes dark. Tyler exhales. He watches his breath disappear into the cold air. He sits there for 10 seconds, maybe 12, and then the phone vibrates once in his hand. 1 message. Tyler turns the phone over. He reads it. His face changes in the way a face changes when the shape of a problem suddenly reveals itself to be much larger than the shape you have been carrying in your mind. Not panic. Something past panic. The particular stillness of a person who has just understood that the word done is not a wall. It is a beginning of something else. He does not go inside. He doesn't show the phone to anyone. He sits on the porch with the phone face down on his knee again, and the November air around him and the streets empty in both directions. And he stays very still for a long time. Inside the house, Gloria is at the kitchen table. She's not working. She's not tending. She's sitting with both hands around her coffee cup and the candle burning in the jar in front of her. And she's thinking about the same thing she's been thinking about since she stood at the hall closet this morning with her hand on the door. She reaches into the pocket of her house coat. She sets a small key on the table in front of her coffee cup. Plain ring. The brass gone dull from 11 years of being carried and never used. She looks at it the way you look at a door you have been standing in front of for a long time and have finally decided to open. She picks up the key. She closes her hand around it. She holds it. From the back bedroom, in the specific smallness of a child, most of the way asleep, but not all the way, Nia said, Grandma. The candle's still on. A silence. Gloria looks at the flame in the jar. She looks at the key in her closed hand. She says quietly, in the voice she keeps, for the things she means most. Gloria said, "I know, baby. It's supposed to be." The house is quiet. Drexel Avenue is quiet. The candle burns in the jar on the counter, the way it has burned every night for 11 years. And outside on the porch, Tyler Carter is still sitting in the cold with a message on his phone that he has read twice and will not read a third time tonight. And somewhere in this city, Deshaun Reeves is doing what patient men do when they have just reminded someone that a word is not an ending. And tomorrow, Walter Briggs is coming to this table. And tomorrow, Diane Foster is opening the sealed envelope. And tomorrow, James Carter has one day left to sign a form he has decided, for now, not to sign. And somewhere on Drexel Avenue tonight, a car drives slowly past the Carter house. Not the black sedan, not the dark blue car. A different car. It does not stop. It will be back. Deshaun just sent Tyler a message that changed his face. And Tyler is still sitting on that porch in the cold. Gloria has the key to her mother's box in her hand for the first time.